Guys, welcome back to another episode of A2 The Show. Today we have Wael Taleb. He's back again to tell us to tell us all about what this hot topic of Lebanon. Wael, please, if you can share first of all your personal experience. How's your life going in Lebanon? What's the situation for you personally, and then we'll move on from there.
Yeah. Hi guys, how are you?
Hey,
Thank you for having me again on the show. Um, the war. So on the first day of the war, let me explain because it's relevant. Yeah. On the first day of the war at 1 a.m., the news about the rockets were announced. Like it was in the news, and it wasn't clear who it was. Actually, the mouthpieces of Hezbollah were saying it's impossible that it's them. It wasn't clear. But I have family who are still in Dahi. I moved out of Dahi, out of my parents' place, because of the last war. And now I'm still in this place that I moved to. But my mom and my sister, so my house was damaged last time and we renovated the house. My mom and my sister were still in the house. So I had to wake up my mom at 1 a.m. before even the Hezbollah announced that they are behind the rockets, and even before the Israelis accused them. But probability-wise, I thought it would be them. Like who else? So I called
Hmm.
my mom. I woke her up. I was like, "Mom, please, you have to leave the house. They're gonna strike Dahi very soon." I don't know why I had the feeling that they're gonna strike Dahi very soon because I know how crazy it will make them, the firing of the rockets. And my mom, I mean, the journalist card does not work with my family. It's as if I'm it did not convince anyone of anything. So I called the so my and I was like, "Mom, please, you have to leave now." My mom was like half asleep. She was like, "Look, well, even if whatever is gonna happen, I will not leave my bed." So civil war generation style.
oh my God.
A woman
She
that
said
treasures her
something worse
sleep.
in Arabic, but yeah. So I had to call my sister to blackmail her, and so that she leaves Dahi. And this is what happened. My sister blackmailed her, and she left Dahi. Of course, like the war. I mean, I can only imagine. Actually, I found out that this is very sad. I found out that the grandparents of my friend were killed in those initial
Oh,
strikes
sorry.
on Dahi. So, like
Allah
looking
yarhamah.
back about my mom, like and my like, because who knows what could have been struck then. So that's why I panicked and I was like, "You have to leave now." Unfortunately, she
Mm.
listened. She was not even stuck in traffic that day, but a lot of people were. A lot of people were. I speak at this place. The traffic was insane. From Dahi, either from Dahi to other areas, took a long time. In the south, it took people more than 20 hours on a road that usually takes 1 hour. Like I was asking my cousin, my extended family. I'm from the south. Both my parents are from the south. I spent my childhood in the south, and yeah, my parents who has passed away, my father who has passed away a long time ago is buried in my mother's village, Srifa. So my cousins, I asked my cousin, how does one drive for 22 hours with their family? Like how do you have the endurance? And he was like, if you ever do it, you will know. Sorry, I'm inciting humor now. Now it's maybe a bit funny. Back then, it was survival mode. Okay, the
Yeah.
war is starting. You have okay, you're a machine now. You have to take care of family, small family. The story you heard. The big family, you have to try to find places for everyone. Try. I'm not saying, and I'm not giving myself credit, but this is the least one can do. You have friends you're trying to help or who ask you and whatever. So the first days of the escalation was survival mode. It's too intense. I have a good
Yeah.
memory usually, but like those initial days of this war and the last war, my memory goes like a blunt. Like there are stuff that I would forget. The beginning of the war was a bit of a deja vu for the last war, like
Mhm.
displacement. Not for me because I last war I had to move, but for the whole vibe, it was a bit of a deja vu. It felt very similar. Unfortunately, the country has to go through this again very similarly in less than 2 years. Unfortunately, Lebanon, yeah, it has been through a lot in the past years since the at least since 2019, Lebanon has suffered an economic crisis, COVID, the worldwide, but Lebanon was so weak back then. So COVID was on steroids in Lebanon, not in terms of the people who died, but like in terms of the panic, because we were not ready. We had the port explosion, we had the first war, and now the second, and like yeah, and the whole year of this support, what they call
It's
support
a
front.
culmination of bad events just constant just happening.
Exactly, it's not stopping. It's not stopping. It's not stopping. And now there's the second war as well, in which more than a million have been displaced. Unfortunately, everyone I know is displaced. Everyone I know is displaced. Unfortunately, so yeah, the Lebanese have to go through this. Side note, just a side note. Career-wise, I started my journalism career 1 week before the October 17th revolution. So I started before this chaos came, and
Wow.
it has been nonstop. So journalistically,
Yeah.
it has been. I don't want to say exciting because it's bad, but it has been rich material for me to cover.
Yes. That's quite a lot of. I mean, to go through all of that and still find a way to keep going, and also working as a journalist is definitely a tough experience because not only are you experiencing the live events, you're going through the emotions yourself, and you also have to deal with the situation that's happening, but at the same time you also have to express all of that in writing, and you have to share that to in in proper words so that it's properly written, that everyone can understand it, and that takes a toll on you. It's not easy just processing that and then also writing about it. So for you yourself, how are you being able to manage that your work and what's happening?
Look, yes, I spoke about the situation of the whole country and like how I had to react to it, but there's also work. Like I was like, and I'm not giving myself credit. This is the case for a lot of people. But yes, there's also the work aspect. For the people who don't know when wars erupt, it's a very intense, but like work increases definitely. Like you start working like never before, which has its positives. Of course, I did not wish the war to come for me to
Yeah,
work more,
of course.
but but this is the reality, and you try to make the most out of it as a journalist, because there will be times where you will go unemployed, or like you don't have as much work, which was the reality after the last war. So you try to make the best out of this in terms of work, not to be happy. But of course not. I would have never wished this to happen. But yes, it's a very intensive work. It's hectic. Yes, reporting on one's country is very. It's a very special experience. It's not like reporting on another country's
Hmm.
war.
Hmm.
It's very it's a very emotional experience, let's say. Okay,
Uh,
I want to talk about some of this personal
yeah.
experiences, visiting the displaced and all, but also like just because I don't want to be self-centered. Yes, journalists are exposed to the news and all, but you won't see me complaining about it. Okay, work is hectic, sure. You won't see me complaining about it while there are people on the streets, displaced on the streets. When there's more than a million people on the streets, when there's more than 1,000 killed, uh, I
Hmm.
think a lot of people have it much, much worse. And we are privileged to be working. Journalism, if I wasn't a journalist, I would have collapsed, actually. Journalism gives me a drive because I'm contributing to what is happening, and I try to contribute positively. I'm not saying I'm changing anything in this world, not at all, but like
Hmm.
the little contribution, whether it's volunteering, whether it's my work, it makes you feel like you have a role in all of this instead of just collapsing.
No.
Definitely in times where I didn't have a role, and these tough times for Lebanon, for example, in the very beginning of the port explosion, the first day I was a freelancer, and I didn't have a task yet, and I was literally collapsing. Not until I got to my first task that I started, okay, being online, focused on what I'm doing, stuff. So in my case, journalism actually helps adapt to the situation. I will be on the
Wow.
news either way, whether it's whether I'm a journalist or not. I have a group with my friends, and they discuss politics all day. I mean, usually they discuss politics often, but during the war, it's all day. I don't know what their managers think about this, but they don't never stop. So if I wasn't, and I'm like them, maybe even more invested. So if I wasn't a journalist, I will be doing the same. Like I will be following the news either way. Journalism just gives me a drive, a positive drive, and all of this. And we process after, like what happened last time, not during.
I mean, I think we can definitely and we should commend all journalists for.
Hmm.
I mean, not only are you doing you're doing hard work with going through all of the work and the stress and also dealing with the guilt of having to, your work rely on these tough situations. But like really the work that you guys are providing, the information that you're sharing, the insight that is being provided for the people who don't know is very important. Like me and Ali, we don't live in Lebanon and we wouldn't know what's going on in our country had if the journalists don't do their job. So thank you guys for doing your work. It's definitely important.
But
uh,
the journalists that had it worse are the ones who were killed.
yeah.
Of course, these are the ones all injured. Okay, there are journalists who are taking risks on the border as well, taking a huge
Mhm.
risk just to document what's happening, in very risky situations. So I commend those. I haven't taken as much of a risk. I take risks, yes. I go calculated risks, yes, but not to that extent, not yet at least. And some people get, some journalists get killed, and those are the ones who we really should commend to try to document this. And I mean, hopefully, the Lebanese journalists will not suffer what the Gaza journalists did, because the Israeli army was clearly targeting journalists consistently. Preventing any international press from coming, which limited the. I mean, the Palestinian journalists have done a great job documenting all of this, but I guess for the worldwide press, maybe and for the wrong reasons, because the Palestinian journalists should be taken at face value. They are the ones documenting everything. We should listen to them. But maybe for the worldwide press, the worldwide population, they are more likely to listen to people speaking their own language, and that was not
Mhm.
possible
Yeah.
in Gaza. It does exist in Lebanon. Fortunately, we have a lot of foreign press in the country documenting what's happening, so that has its added value.
And I wanted to link, so you're mentioning Gaza and Lebanon. Um, from your perspective and from the news that you're receiving, is there going to be a repeat of what's happening in Gaza to possibly the south of Lebanon?
I don't like to make predictions, honestly, because it's very hard. There's lots of
Hmm.
variables taking place right now.
Hmm.
The Palestine-Israel issue is a very particular thing. Like, for example, last war, they definitely committed war crimes in Lebanon, but they didn't commit a genocide like Palestine. Like, the Israelis treat Palestine in a very particular way. They wanted to expel them to other countries, Jordan and Egypt, and it's not a secret. It's only because Jordan and Egypt refused to take them that they were not expelled. In Lebanon, the treatment was very bad. War crimes were committed, really bad last war, but it was not to the extent of Gaza. This war,
Hmm.
I feel that in terms of civilians being killed, that it's per strike. Like in terms of how much are they trying to be precise compared to last time.
Hmm.
I think now it's worse, and I think honestly, this might be scary thing to say, but I think the war have not started yet, despite everything I said before, despite the more than 1,000 killed, despite the more than million displaced. I think the worst is yet to come because there's the Iran front now, which they are
Yes.
kind of focusing on, and when they are done, and I hope I'm wrong, I think the things are gonna escalate in Lebanon. To continue answering your question, South Lebanon, is it gonna be occupied or not permanently? I mean, who knows? But just today, Netanyahu said that they already had a buffer zone before. He was addressing the Israelis. That they already had a buffer zone before because the Israeli army were still occupying 5 points in the south, and were striking the south. They had ongoing strikes on the south almost on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
Uh, and he said, Netanyahu said that they're gonna expand this buffer zone, and that's what he's saying. So let's see what's happening. So yeah, probably they're gonna try to occupy the south for sure.
Hmm.
Uh, we will see. We will see what's gonna happen. Hopefully
Are,
they fail to permanently occupy it.
are there people still living in the South? And how do they do that?
At least parts of the south, just to be journalistically accurate, let's say. Who knows how they are gonna behave, but they are being open about trying to occupy. They would call it a buffer zone, part of the south, and expanding their previous buffer zone. Ali, you were asking what's the
How
situation?
the Lebanese people, are there still Lebanese people still living in south of Lebanon right now?
Few,
Um,
few people stayed in their villages. I would say very few. There's the healthcare workers, which we can talk about, first responders that stayed there. There are people who actually stayed, and there's this report about this 100-year-old woman who decided to stay in her village. But there are many like her. But mostly people were displaced. Like few people decided to stay.
Mm.
But it's a very admirable position to take that risk to stay in your home. I should say one of the things that we learned in the past war is that people will do whatever it takes to avoid leaving their house. They sometimes prefer to die in their own house than to be in a displaced school or on the street or whatever. This is the one of the things that I learned last time. People will take huge risks to stay in their house. I mean, you heard my mom's story. My
yes.
mom did not have to leave from the south to Beirut. She had to leave from Dahi to outside of Dahi within Beirut, and she resisted this much. But some decide to just stay. It's their village. وحقهم, it's their right.
Tell us about yes, the displaced population. What are they doing? Where are they staying, and how are they being supported in this time?
The displaced, its situation is very heartbreaking,
Mm-hmm.
guys. Look, I mean, we all saw the strike on Ramlet al-Baydan
Yeah.
and on the Corniche. It has happened after Hezbollah fired more than 100 missiles on Israel. Few of them landed, if I'm not mistaken. And the morning during that night, Israel struck the Corniche of Beirut. They had issued an evacuation warning for Dahi, so a lot of people went temporarily to that Corniche actually, and some people were staying there permanently. And Israel struck the Corniche, killing I forget the number now, 12 people,
Oof.
and injuring others. Uh, yes, with no clear like if they didn't even claim to have targeted a military person on this strike. So anyway, uh, so that strike happened on a displaced where on a place where the displaced were taking the streets as a refuge, either the beach or the actual streets. I should say last time those who stayed on the streets were the non-Lebanese, even the very marginalized communities, the Palestinians, the Syrians. This year, it's a lot of Lebanese on the streets. And I'm not saying the marginalized should be on the streets, and the Lebanese should not at all. This is not what I'm saying at all. But yeah, this year it's a lot of Lebanese on the street. I wonder why this is the case, unlike last year. And a lot of these displaced, like I went to Biel, for example, where there's a lot of, I don't know exactly the number of people staying there, but it's a lot of people on the street. On the street, we are talking about people who are suffering the rains, the storms, in a tent that is not prepared for such a thing, with their families, with their kids. So I was there, and I was very sad to see. I mean, I was very sad to see a lot of displaced from whatever they are. I was very sad to see a lot of Lebanese as well. Like guys, not from a Lebanese superior point of view, but when you see such a thing that you've seen happening in Gaza historically, and you always said, haram, poor people of Palestine, they have to suffer this, and you see it with your own community, it touches you without saying that the Palestinians should suffer this and the Lebanese shouldn't. No, but it
It's
is, it
closer
is,
to home.
it moves you in an even more intense way, let's say, because you like, actually I knew some of those people were my neighbors in Dahi. I lived in Dahi all my life. I'm not better than them in anything, and they are on the street, and I'm in a house, and that is very upsetting, actually, very upsetting. It's actually to go back to inside some joke, and this sad reality, very sad reality, actually. There was actually a neighbor, someone who I used to go to the gym, and I saw him staying on the street, and yeah, we recognized each other, and he was like, he asked me in a very hospitable way, so do you need anything? And yeah, it was very nice of him. It's the hospitality of the Lebanese, of the people of the south, of the people of Dahi. It's very moving. I've interviewed people actually who were injured in the strikes of Ramat al-Baida and went to Biar as refuge because they got scared. When I was there on the first day of Eid al-Fitr, two sonic booms happened. And like a sonic boom, you would not immediately know that it's a strike. The kids were crying on Eid, and of course, many of those were in Ramat al-Baida, so they were already triggered. It was very, again, upsetting to see. In schools, I think they are not like, we don't have shelters in Lebanon. We have all this war, and the country is not prepared at all for such a war. So the state improvises. It doesn't have the resources, and it's not prepared to such a scenario. Improvises some support for those who are displaced. And schools, maybe many schools have managed to secure very humble funding and support, food, and very basic things. On the streets, it's even more chaotic because it's not organized, and they rely on random people giving them food. So if these random people don't appear, they wouldn't have food to eat from, and they don't have their basic needs. Again, under the rain, under very horrible conditions. Hopefully now the winter is almost over, so hopefully now, at least from this side, is it's gonna be not as hard, let's say. And I wish I could say I hope the war ends tomorrow and they can all go back to their houses. But and I wish this will happen. But I think in reality, when the Iran front ends, I think things are gonna escalate in Lebanon, unfortunately.
What's the government's plan for helping the displaced and managing the situation, and what is also the involvement of international organizations like the Red Cross and other organizations that provide assistance?
The fact that international organizations are intervening is an indication that the Lebanese government is not prepared. The Lebanese government is not prepared for such a scenario. Let's be clear. I mean, the state, our governments have always been relied on foreign support. Unfortunately, like the country could have been sustained itself in many scenarios, including this war or other scenarios. But we have politicians who have bankrupted the country, unfortunately, and relied on foreign support. And then, if they don't get foreign support, they complain. Instead, the country has huge potential. It does not. It's not a country with no resources, and that it has to be bankrupted and have no means whatsoever. But this is the situation that we are in. Yeah, the state. You can always criticize a state for not doing more, and I'm sure they can do more. But the reality of the situation is that the state does not have the means to take care of such a huge displacement crisis, and that's those who pay the price are those who are displaced. Unfortunately, they pay the ultimate price. We should not be relying on international organizations. They help when they can. I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough at all.
Can you tell us more about the Red Cross workers that were killed recently?
A lot of healthcare workers health بس ثانية خلينا نعيد السؤال بس لحتى أشوف الترم سوري عم
No, dude, you're okay.
killed
Medical facilities have been
medics
targeted.
okay yes killing health workers was correct actually طيب كيف بدي أرجع أكبرها okay علي please
Yes. Can you tell us about the brave healthcare workers that are being murdered and killed, trying to save
Yes.
people?
Yes, in this war, it is very remarkable that healthcare workers, medics, are being targeted consistently. Actually, 42. I was saying that the war has not. I don't think it has even started. Not to say that the situation is not very bad. It's extremely bad. But I'm saying compared relative to what is gonna happen, it's gonna escalate. I think even more. But despite what I said, of course. The situation is very bad. 42 health workers, medics, have been killed so far from different organizations, which is very scary. And it looks like it's a consistent strategy. The Israeli army said that a lot of the medics are cooperating with Hezbollah.
Can you tell us more about the Red Cross or healthcare workers that were killed and murdered trying to save people's lives?
Yes. Yeah, remarkably, in this war, I was talking about how the war has not reached its worst stage, but like it's already really bad, just to be clear, on all levels. And it is remarkable in this war how much healthcare workers were killed. The number is, as of today, 42, 42 who are killed. And the Israeli army are accusing some of them of cooperating with Hezbollah as an excuse to kill them. But even then, like there is a health organization like medics who are affiliated with Hezbollah. But even then, under international law, they should not be targeted because they are actually medics at the end of the day. Nevertheless, they are being targeted. Israel have been consistently using double tapping actually strikes, and some suspect double tap is when you strike somewhere and then wait, let's say 8 minutes, and then you strike again. And this, like everybody will rush after the first strike and go to the site, and then a lot of first responders and medics would be killed, and they are being killed using this because of these strikes, successive strikes that have minutes in between. And I cannot find a military explanation for it other than it's designed to kill. And I know for a fact, I spoke to the civil defense, and they told me, I don't want to say the number of minutes for their security, but they tell me they wait after the first strike, they wait a number of minutes to respond to the situation, to go to the site so that they avoid being killed, because this has been a consistent thing during this war. And like let's put it in perspective. If healthcare workers who should arrive on the spot at second one
Mm-hmm.
of any strike are waiting, you could be having people who are in need that could die because they haven't the first responders have not reached that destination. Never ever, yeah, which is very bad for this. And nevertheless, like despite the risks, there are people who are volunteers. They don't have salaries or nothing, and they still stay in the southern villages. They feel that it's their responsibility to help those in need, to respond to these situations, which I have a huge respect for. Actually, my first
Mm-hmm.
ever journalistic story was about the civil defense, actually. So I have a huge respect for these first responders. They are real heroes in this war.
Talking about the targeting of the healthcare workers and the way they are striking them, does this weaken the argument of Israel claiming that they are invading the south for defense purposes?
Defense purposes, I don't know what this means. Like in this context, Israel is much stronger than Hezbollah. It outgrows it by power by far. Like the 6 rockets that Hezbollah launched in the very beginning of the war did not do any harm for the Israelis. So I mean, the Israel occupied Lebanon from 1982 until the year 2000. Okay, they said they went in to push the PLO out of Lebanon, and the
Mhm.
PLO went out of Lebanon in 1982, but they still stayed from 1982 until 2000. So what is this defense? Let's say, and a lot of the resistance was born out of this occupation. It wasn't only Hezbollah. Even before Hezbollah, let's be clear, there was a fierce resistance against the Israelis. And there's a famous video of the Israelis in 1982 saying, "Ya ahali," to the people of Beirut, "please don't shoot at us. We are leaving in the morning." And this is because of the fierce resistance that they were met at. And Hezbollah was definitely born because of that, partially because of this occupation, and they managed to liberate South Lebanon. That's why, for anyone not familiar with the matter, that's why Hezbollah has a lot of popularity. That's largely why, because they managed to liberate the South. Even though I capitalize on this, they were not the only side fighting Israel. The people, the Lebanese and the people of the South, whether with Hezbollah or not, will always fight to liberate, to protect their land. And I don't think the Israelis get it. It's not. So if they are trying to stay in the country, it's not a Hezbollah thing to try to defend it. It's the people of the South, and the Lebanese
Mhm.
and general people of the South will always fight to liberate their land. This is history teaches us this, and even a Harat's article acknowledged this today. Actually, I was reading today a translation of a Harat's article on a Lebanese channel, and they were acknowledging that Lebanon is the Vietnam of Israel. Yes, because historically the Israelis have had bad experiences in Lebanon, and yeah, the people of the South will not take it.
Would you like to comment on the lack of the unity within the Lebanese people on the situation? Because we have two sides of that support the current government and do not support Hezbollah's resistance. They want peace with Israel, and then there's obviously the other side, which wants to resist Israel and take back their lands that are being occupied.
One thing I want to take a step back, Said, and the question is very good. I want to answer it.
Mhm.
After the so-called ceasefire, after 2024, okay,
Mhm.
whether you think Hezbollah made a mistake at opening the support front or not, after the war ended, and there
Mhm.
was massive destruction in Lebanon. Lebanon suffered a very high price for the war. Hezbollah, for a year and a half, for 15 months, did not fire at the Israelis. Okay. Israel and the Lebanese government took the decision of disarming Hezbollah, a very bold one, unpopular one, of disarming Hezbollah. Okay, and they were hoping to get something in return for this very bold move. Tom Barak diplomatically, Tom Barak, the American envoy at the time, from Lebanon said, "Okay, Lebanon did its part. It's time for Israel to do its part." And we never heard of Tom Barak again in Lebanon, and Israel did not give anything in return. They continued striking. So then, how can you convince the population of accepting the disarmament of Hezbollah? Can you convince Hezbollah of disarming if the Israelis are gonna kept striking every day? Now, I should say, to be fair, I know Israel is the main aggressor here, and it's launching a war on Lebanon. But there is, let's face it, there was frustration, especially on day one, that Hezbollah waited 15 months without a response to the Israeli strikes, and only struck in their statement, they say it, only struck when the Iran war happened. In their statement, they said, in response to the killing of the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, and in retaliation to the attacks on the Israeli army, which prompted a lot of frustration and within Hezbollah's base as well on day one. But I think the more the war continues, the more Hezbollah will gain back gain back a lot of the popularity it lost for at least that day or a few days, because in the south they are the only ones fighting the Israelis.
And compared to previous conflicts between Hezbollah and Israel, what does this one look like? Because we've witnessed a massive attacks against the Hezbollah administration, with the assassinations that against Hassan Nasrallah and other members of the leadership group, and the pager attacks that have been planned for years by Israel. So how is this conflict compared to previous fights against these two polarizing forces?
You were asking me, Saeed, about the polarization of Lebanon as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because of what I mentioned about Hezbollah responding to the killing of Ali Khamenei, even though they had, they said this in the statement, I would have thought, actually, let's analyze a bit here. I would have thought, without forgetting the point about the polarization, because I want to address it, it's very important. I would have thought that Hezbollah, if they want to intervene in this war, okay, escalate things, fire rockets, they have the pretext. Not to say it's the right decision or the wrong decision, they have the pretext. The pretext is that the South have been being struck for 15 months, despite of their intention was to defend the South purely, or also because they are aligned with Iran, and because they feel the need to respond. They cannot not respond if the supreme leader is killed. But despite if we think that this is the right decision or not, I would have thought that even if this was their intention, part of their intention, to only mention, okay, in defense of the South, they have the pretext to say this. They decided to say in response in retaliation, in response to the killing of the supreme leader Ali Khamenei. I still, until this day, I still don't have an explanation for why they would say it for a Lebanese audience. Let's say that is maybe we will find out about why they chose to say it in the initial statement, which prompted a lot of extra anger, from the Lebanese, from the government, and from their own community. The polarization in Lebanon, it's the country is very divided right now, and that's probably why the army is not fully implementing, let's say, going all the way with the government decision to ban Hezbollah's military wing, because it can lead to a civil war, and the country is very divided. I feel that the leadership of the other sects, there's like the Sunnis and the Christians and the Druze, when the war ends on day one of after the war, who knows when this will come, the other sects will not accept coexisting with the military wing. Like this is a dilemma. At least for now, like for now, it seems like they will not accept it. So I think this is an existential crisis for Lebanon in terms of polarization. So it's not that okay. I'm saying this like our parents say the civil war is coming. No, but there's a reality that we have to acknowledge in terms of the polarization right now. It's real. It's an existential problem for the country. At the same time, like if the South got occupied, huge chunks of the South permanently, this means that the temporary displaced right now will be permanently displaced inside in other areas, which contributes even worse for the polarization and is a very bad situation in the first place. And you have parts of your country that is occupied. We also read the Reuters report about the Americans encouraging the Syrians to occupy
Yeah.
the Bekaa. And it's according to the report, the Syrians were the ones rejecting this, but but this can change anytime. Okay, if they have the green light from the US, there might come a time. I'm not saying it's likely to happen, but you never. If there's a green light if there is an encouragement from the US, there might come a time where the Syrians will take that offer if it fits their own interests of the Syrian regime. I mean, to be completely accurate, Tom Barak denied the report in the first place, but who knows if that's true or not.
Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
So what happens? What happens to Lebanon if in that future where people are divided and you have the south occupied and you have other parts of Lebanon occupied? Like, what remains of Lebanon? Does it mean to be Lebanese then?
I'm not see exactly. I'm not saying the Bekaa and the South will. This is a given. They will be occupied and what's not. But this is a concern, a real concern for
Mm-hmm.
the South, especially. Let's say. Um, the polarization, as we said, is very intense. I should say, like for the rivals of Hezbollah politically, we should have a discussion about a lot of things. I don't believe that there should be taboos.
Mm-hmm.
That, that there are things that you should not be talking about during a war because it's Israel. Because of what I think, the truth has to be said. Of course, the war has to be taken into consideration, but the core of my job is a truth seeking thing.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Despite the taboos, of course, you take the war into consideration, and I think people should not they should discriminate between the political decision and the displaced. This is a given for me. Like the displaced are suffering the price of a war that they had nothing to do with.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. So no one should point their anger at these poor displaced people. We should definitely have a political discussion. I don't think I'm against the narrative that we should stop our political discussions during wars. I'm against this. Uh, all the Arab dictatorships had emergency states, like Bashar al-Assad regime
Mm-hmm.
or the Iraq regime or Libya or whatever, and the justification for that for these emergency states was the presence of Israel and the Palestinian cause, when in reality none of these countries really fought Israel. The emergency states were there just to as a justification to suppress their own people. And same thing in Lebanon. I don't think the discussion should stop. I think discussions are healthy, whatever the situation is. And especially during wars, the discussions are even more important than previous times. So I really disagree with that sentiment.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree that we all need to be talking to each other and understanding each other and trying to find a common ground, and because we have much more in common than we have things that separate us and make us different. And for all Lebanese, we need to be talking about the future, right? How are we going to rebuild from this? How are we going to work together to have a better future for the next generations? We can't let Lebanon die.
Yeah, as opposed to many frustrated Lebanese are, the country has so much potential, so much. But the human resources we have, especially the human resources we have, the human capital is extremely skilled. Like you guys are outside the country because the country is dysfunctional. The country should be benefiting from the skills that you have. And for a lot of Lebanese guys, I will tell you something I was thinking about. In 2019, there was an economic crisis that pushed hundreds of thousands of people to leave the country. Some estimates say 500,000.
Wow.
And a lot of them are in the Gulf. They are not. Saad, you are in Saudi Arabia,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of them are, especially the ones in the Gulf, are not so attached to the Gulf. Like if the country was, I'm not talking about you, Saad. You decide what you want to do. But a lot of them, if they had a functional country, they would immediately, if Lebanon becomes a functional country, they will immediately come back. But I'm saying in any country, if 500,000 people immigrated, there will be a refugee issue. In Lebanon, there was no refugee issue because these people are so skilled. The Lebanese are so skilled. They adapted everywhere they went. They adapted to the situation. That's how talented our population is. Unfortunately, uh, they have to leave the country instead of the country benefiting from them on all aspects, including the defense. We should be the Lebanese. We don't lack the skills to innovate, even in terms of the defense. We should be benefiting from all these resources. And I think we would have been better off than the situation we are in now if the country was functional and we are benefiting from all these talents that we don't use because we have an inept political class that has mismanaged the country and bankrupted the country and led it to a situation right now where we have very little options, have no leverages, and yeah, we are dealing with a huge mess.
That's it's definitely a situation that's it's tough to endure, and also you mentioned how the Lebanese people are very good, highly skilled at adapting, and especially when they leave to a new country, they find a way to assimilate. um, I don't think it's a lot of people like to use the word resilient also for the Lebanese people. They claim we are a resilient population, but at the same time, I think it comes with a very heavy caveat. It makes us also, you know, leave a lot behind. We have a lot of memories, family, neighbors, friends, emotions, treasured treasured experiences that are just gone because we cannot that are only in our memory, and we can't relive them because of the situation in Lebanon. It's so hard to come back and visit as often as we would like to, or even live there and constantly be making and living these experiences. And it is unfair, I would say. I think for the Lebanese people, it's unfair that they have to go through this constantly, and they have to leave, live in different cultures that not always accept them as well. That they have to change themselves or change their identities to be accepted into those cultures, into those communities. Um, and it's not an easy thing. It's not. It's an unjust situation, but unfortunately, it is the reality. We have to live with it, and we have to endure it. We pray obviously for a better tomorrow for Lebanon, but unfortunately, like the present is not very positive.
Looks
I
bleak.
don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to stay too much on that point. I want to pivot to a potential positive news, maybe, hopefully. But there's talks, and this is from obviously from the foreign side. There's talks of a ceasefire with Iran. Iran has negated those talks. But the U.S. was mentioning it and saying that they're in the talks of it. If those talks were fruitful and they led to an actual ceasefire between those countries, what would be the potential result for Lebanon? Would it have a positive impact? Would it have a negative impact from what can be said about it?
We've seen a report. I've seen at least one report. Won't name the news outlet. Saying that Iran has said that we will not stop until there's a ceasefire in Lebanon, like linking Lebanon to it. I don't know how reliable these reports are. I think the more likely scenario is that. So I don't know if it's a positive note. I think unfortunately, the more likely scenario is that when the Iran front ends, that the Israelis will focus on Lebanon, and that things will escalate. They are already talking about invading. Netanyahu openly said today that he wants to expand the buffer zone, as he called it. Some ministers are saying that southern Lebanon should be annexed. Some ministers and the government, like Smotrich, if I'm not mistaken, said that
Yes.
he wants to make Dahi Gaza. As you
Yes.
said, the future does not look bleak. Hopefully, it will not go to this extent, but I think the more likely scenario, and I hope I'm wrong, I hope diplomacy works. I think the more likely scenario is that things are going to escalate in Lebanon when the Iran front ends, unfortunately.
That is tough to hear, to be honest. It is unfortunate, the reality. Yes, it's not an easy thing to hear, especially for all the Lebanese people who are watching. It's definitely not. This is the constant news or headlines that we're constantly being exposed to, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear that the South now is going to be permanently occupied,
I mean, hopefully not.
it's
Hopefully
tough.
not. Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Hopefully,
I would pray that this will not happen. And again, I made this point before. Harat's talked about it. The Lebanese and the Southerners will always fight for their land. So we will see what happens. We will see if the Israelis understood this lesson, so that they don't even try to stay permanently in the south. Let's hope this is the case. If they invade, if they manage to invade, even I hope they don't manage to invade.
Okay. For my last question, how can the world outside of Lebanon who cares about Lebanon and wants to see it get back on its feet, how can they support Lebanese people in this time?
In general, it's very moving how people from all over the world, whether Lebanese or not, especially the ones who have been to Lebanon, who love it so much because it's a very charming country, have been donating. I have friends who have been living in Lebanon who are raising donations for the food distribution, for other things. It's very moving. We can't ask for more from these people who are trying. And let's hope the demands that are not met the demands of today's time that are not met will be met in the coming days. One can only hope. But in general, it's been very moving. I hope the war stops, man. Like war, you cannot fix all the. You cannot return someone who is killed to life. The war, there are stuff you cannot solve. There will be people severely injured. The houses will be destroyed. The country does not have the resources to rebuild them. War is really bad. So no matter how much support one can get, you cannot fix. You're not fixing a portion of the aftermath of this war. So okay, the support nevertheless is very moving from people outside, whether it's Lebanese or non-Lebanese, and hopefully when the war stops, that we understand that okay, the country has its charm, it has its potential, it's an attractive country. We rely on this factor to build on and to move towards a better country. Who knows when the war will stop? Who knows how the country will look like when the war stops? I really hope the war stops soon and that we can learn from the lessons. If we committed mistakes, I hope the war will stop with a liberated South, with a non-occupied land in Lebanon, and that we can move forward in the country. This would be my wish. I cannot state otherwise.
Amazing. Saeed, anything else from your end?
No, I think this is a good place to end it. Guys,
Very
thank you
well said,
for
Wael. Very refreshing hearing your truth telling. Like you're trying to really figure out what's going on and tell it to us how it is. No sugarcoating, and it's like a breath of fresh air hearing that from Lebanon. So until next time.
Thank you so much for having me, guys, and hopefully, there will be a third time, inshallah.
thank you guys, and thank you for watching.